Alrighty, continuing. Technological difficulties. I won't even blame it on monitoring, but running out of space because of all the documentation that I have. So I want to continue. For example, and what I'm referencing, it's 7:57. By the way, you're looking at the light source, which remains here, and you know, as a matter of documentation, this is 7:44 when I started this documentation. Okay, even though it's broken up into 3 separate videos, this is 7:44. That's the timestamp. The light source remains here. The engineer light remains here. The entity is setting the light source, as you saw yesterday on April 6, 2022. 2024, yesterday, inside of this apartment is what I'm referencing. And the sun is supposedly setting. So then you're adjusting your terminology. That's not the sun. It's not the natural environment. This is the specific environment where the government lacks any warrant or probable cause to maintain constructive presence inside of your private space or your workplace or any third party facilitating venue where you are understanding what is criminalizing presence in the path of the target individual who is being placed under surveillance by the state. And that's how you have what is the maintenance of a specific environment, which you are understanding and recognizing through what is documentation that had to highlight it for you. That's fine. We can walk through it together. It's not the natural environment. And in that unnatural environment, you are also understanding the character of that light. It's not just the fact that you're looking at the light source that's remaining for the duration of the day. The very light itself isn't even natural light. It's appearing in ways in which, again, I have to highlight for you so you understand, and we can break this down. This isn't even sunlight as we understand it. This is relevant to the pattern of conduct with regard to the actions taken in this environment and the appearance of this light. That this is something else that helps you understand when it's appearing on the ceiling, when it's appearing in the shade, when you're looking at multiple shadows, when it's also appearing in the dark. You're understanding what is not natural light. What coexists with this environment is presence. And that presence is serving a system. And there's a significance with regard to the ongoing pattern of following from place to place in a specific environment amongst very peculiar light. This is serving for what is criminal because a government is following from place to place. And you are understanding the significance of this light. In addition to what I was stating, the significance of what is the entity's engagement in maintaining the specific environment. So you have the absence of any coincidence where the people of the state are engaging in what is the behavioral pattern of maintaining the environment of audible activity, also with simultaneity to what the targeted individual does. That is denoting not only are you cooperatively engaging in stalking in the path, engaging in the criminal elements of monitoring, doing so with simultaneity. That's a demon that does that, and that's a demon that's in the specific environment. That's a demon that is clearly targeting. I want to be clear. But it is also, again, criminal, and that's relevant because that's criminal. It's terrorism. So that's not irrelevant as I'm referencing the demonic features of the system. It's relevant for prosecution as terrorism, first of all. Second of all, the criminal conduct on its face, even if we take out the demonic aspect, which you cannot, this magnification is coming through closed blinds. It is remaining in the apartment for hours. If the entity is engaging in the same surrounding conduct, it's on the ceiling. All of this is terrorism. And it's a sex offense, as I am being touched right now. I don't consent to this, and they're engaging in criminal surveillance. The government's going to be prosecuted as a sex offender. The people of the state prosecuted as third-party group stalkers, including those under the age of majority. That's why the people of the state are losing custody of children. That's why they are going to be placed in federal prison for making minors group stalkers, because they will get, those under the age of majority, you will be prosecuted, those who know what they're doing, and that can be determined by the federal tribunal, the court, determining whether they understand what they're doing when they're group stalking, and they do. Remember, it's demonic activity, but you can go through the legal process because this is criminalizing a government's practice of targeting an American citizen, which is criminal surveillance. And again, just so that you know, if you're picking up on the third video, the light source is over me at 204 North Euclid Avenue in Upland, California, after getting off of Route 83, going northbound, arriving in the city of Upland, and that light source is hovering in its essence over me. And you have seen this day in and day out. You could use that one video to prosecute just the state of California, because the entity is rising and setting the light source in alignment to me all day long. That's the prosecution right there. You're identifying the venue, and you're understanding what is criminal presence by the state. The state is always stalking in the specific environment. The state lacks any warrant or probable cause to maintain constructive presence in your workplace, in your private space. The entity lacks no legal right to touch you, place you under surveillance. The entity is not only stalking you, in other words, the entity is molesting you, sexually offending and violating you, placing you under surveillance while you're engaged in any personal or private activity, too acquainted with and familiar and interested in and engaging in sexually motivated aspects of the pattern of conduct, such as when I pull my panties down, and you are engaging in that same criminal presence and maintenance of that specific environment, and engaging in what is criminal presence in concert with the people of the state who are violent sex offenders, and that's exactly how they're going to be prosecuted, whether or not they are over or under the age of majority. Period. The law is not going to be any respecter of persons. That's what the people of the state are doing, and that's exactly how you're going to prosecute them. And so, as I was stating earlier, the entity is maintaining a specific environment through the people of the state. It's not a coincidence. It is a pattern, just as it's referred to, where the people of the state are maintaining that specific environment. That is, as I'm in motion on a so-called cloudy day, which you know is not the natural environment, but nonetheless, while I'm in motion on a cloudy day, the people of the state are maintaining presence in the path with methods of light. They are not coincidentally driving by using their hazard lights, turning on their brake lights, stopping in the path with their brake lights on. That's called demonic activity, and they're stalking in the path. They are maintaining the environment. Remember, the environment itself is engineered. So to use your hazard lights, to turn on your turn signal, to cross path, is creating light activity. This is light that creates multiple shadows, just as you see. So crossing path in your vehicle, and this is a common means that they engage in. That's why I'm referencing that, not because it's the only way. But they are commonly engaging using a vehicle, for example, especially in California. It's engineered light. They're creating light activity by virtue of moving around in the engineered light, supplementing, maintaining that specific environment by using a method of light, turning on their hazards in a demon that wants to look like, oh, I'm loading and unloading. They're stalking in the path and they're maintaining the specific environment, and you're identifying malice and impunity. That's a psychopath that is hovering with regard to what is stalking. Okay, a demon-possessed psychopath that is worthy of mental examinations. That's what that is. You will never be distracted by the specific environment. The federal government understands the environment that surrounds, and then you are understanding the malice of the demon-possessed population. The ongoing obsessed stalker that is desperate to appear normal and disinterested in the targeted individual, and it is unpersuasive. Okay, so while they engage in that, and that's a long documented pattern, those are the people of the state that are going to be subject to mental examinations. Another grounds for removal from any children that they are in custody of as well, because that's a delusional psychopath who is showing an unlawful desperation to continue stalking and pursuing someone on behalf of a corrupt government that has no legal basis to do so vicariously through the people. That's what that's showing you. All right. And so, as I was stating earlier, the entity is maintaining a specific environment in any or state facilitating venues such as the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, or the entity engaged in kidnapping and criminal defamation, and they're going to federal prison. They're going, and I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because I mean that. They're going to federal prison, and the documentation of the entity maintaining the specific environment as I captured upon being released from kidnapping. All right. And the entity was maintaining a light source. The entity was maintaining this engineered light inside of the room where they were kidnapping me. All right. The entity was maintaining engineered light all over the property. The entity was group stalking by the San Bernardino Police Department or was it Rialto? It was either Rialto. I believe it was the Rialto Police Department. But nonetheless, it was documented there. And then that's a state facilitating venue. There is no natural environment. And this is why you are understanding. It does not matter what the entity calls itself. You can call yourself First Baptist Church of Los Angeles. It is the pattern of conduct, and you are identifying it through the maintenance of the specific environment. The maintenance of the specific environment. And this is what the entity is relying on. They're relying on you to make some sort of exception, that you are going to assume there's some anomaly that there is not possibly a pattern of conduct that is streamlined because of the specific identity of the actor, because of the specific location of where you're at. And I want to be clear. That is not how logic operates. That's not how the law operates either. And you are going to hold up just like any other pattern of conduct. It literally is indistinguishable with regard to the name, the identity of the specific actor. What it's showing you actually is how vast the system is, which you are understanding is the prosecution for terrorism, because that's what's coming up against the targeted individual, by the way, who has nobody to speak on their behalf and has seen all the iterations of those who are targeting them in the most malicious manner, in the ways that they thought beforehand. And by them, referencing the entity, oh, nobody's ever going to suspect me. No one's ever going to believe the targeted individual. Nobody would ever entertain the notion that I am stalking you, whoever the target individual is. This is what goes on in the minds of the demon-possessed, of the delusional psychopath who has yet to accept the fact that they are surrounded with a body of evidence, and that body of evidence is their own demonic behavior. And it is not impervious to prosecution in a federal court. This is facts and evidence. It's a fact that the sun is not going to rise and set at one address. Documented it. P.O.C. It's a fact that sunlight does not appear above your head inside of buildings and in the depths while you're documenting what's supposed to be the natural environment. Okay, you have to be nothing other than an I don't want to call names, but you have to be, an ignoramus. And the entity is assuming that you are an ignoramus. and that you won't be able to pick up the two. How is this sunlight above my head in the depths of my bedroom, and this is supposedly the sun out here? That's the level of ignorance that the entity is, you're necessarily assuming, okay? But you're understanding what is the pattern of conduct, okay? And within the pattern of conduct is presence. It coexists with presence. That's criminal presence that lacks a warrant. That government that's following from place to place in helicopters and fire trucks and ambulances and maintaining the specific environment, using their sirens to surround with audible activity in the engineered light. I want to be clear, the presence of the engineered environment, the presence of the specific environment, everything is suspect. Everything that you hear is adding to the P.O.C. Everything that you see is adding to the P.O.C. Everything that is occurring, by the way, is with the ongoing real-time knowledge of what the targeted individual is doing, contrary to what psychopaths think that they can do: stalk you in plain sight and attach a sign to a plane as though you're doing anything else other than stalking, obsessively knowing that the target individual is holding their phone, is about to record after reviewing the evidence of what happened in 2022, and you're a delusional psychopath thinking that you look like anything other than a group stalker, a demon-possessed one, because you attach a sign to your plane, or because you're looking down and you're walking away from your vehicle, or you happen to simultaneously be engaged in pacing back and forth trying to get your car perfectly in your parking spot, that you look like anything other than an obsessed group stalker who knows exactly what the targeted individual is doing in the specific environment where the sun is rising and setting and where you have magnified light reaching into the depths of your apartment for the entirety of the day, 24 hours a day. It is the pattern of conduct. And there is, again, what you are understanding. So I'm going through an iteration of the prosecution of the people of the state. This is the maintenance. This is literally the admission, the government's criminal presence, lacking any warrant or probable cause, and also being prosecuted for engaging in terrorism. And it's terrorism on more than one ground. It's terrorism because the government is pursuing you and keeping you under surveillance outside of the bounds of the law. It's terrorism because the government is doing it in concert with the people of the state who surround you, not only criminally present in your path, but also engaging in what is the demonic behavioral pattern in order to keep you under surveillance and maintain the specific environment. That's entirely terrorizing, okay? You have a bunch of freak weirdos who are pursuing you. It's also terrorism while they are outwardly failing at trying to assume a position or appearance of normalcy. There's nothing normal in the specific environment. That is terrorism. All right, the entity, the secret society, is going about as though they're living life day to day and they're not. They're focused on you. They're psychopaths who keep their back to you, engaging in passive aggressive stalking, while they maintain presence in your path, in the engineered light, in the specific environment. That's terrorism. There is never going to be any sunlight over this hillside, no sun rising and setting, while the light source, as you see, is over me at 204 North Euclid Avenue in Upland, California. But yet you see it day in and day out outside of this living room. And just like you saw yesterday evening through my bedroom window, and you saw engineered light reaching into the depths of both of my bedrooms, into the hallway. This is the ongoing admission. The people of the state are going to federal prison that live at Alvarado Gardens, providing this level of criminal assistance to a government that's placing an American citizen under surveillance is going to be resulting in what is federal prison. Engaging in systematic terrorism, you're going to federal prison. Engaging in what is an ongoing perpetual sex offense in concert with that state, facilitating that sex offense, which you are doing by criminal presence, and engaging in the ongoing pattern of conduct to maintain that specific environment, which you are doing systematically while you live in the path. That is an unprecedented and intolerable level of criminal assistance that the secret society is engaging and providing to a corrupt government that's practicing demonic activity, all right, which is criminal. And it's also in violation of Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. And it's going to result in federal prison. And this is also relevant to what's an impermissible threat. The entity has been documented for a prolonged period. You can just isolate it to LA. They've been documented for a prolonged period, and you're seeing an ongoing obsession, an unlawful one, to continue to engage in that. And it's relevant to how long the people of the state, especially those at Alvarado Gardens, everybody, all 59 units filled with third-party group stalkers who are going to federal prison for a prolonged term. They're losing custody of the children whom they have made group stalkers. That is sex offenders and terrorists, contributing to the delinquency of such minors, and engaging in the pattern of conduct in concert with the state that is stalking and terrorizing, as you see the state doing so with the people of the state. They're including minor children in that, living at a crime scene, all right, placing them, in other words, in what is harm's way. That's exactly what you're doing by living at the crime scene, at the facilitating venue. There's nothing normal about the pattern of conduct, nothing normal about the environment, and they are literally rearing their minor children up in these terrorizing, demented fashions. You will abruptly remove those children from the possession of the people of the state, which is a way of life for them, while they are targeting an American citizen, just, willy-nilly, while they get up and go to work and go get their frappuccino from Starbucks and then come back, go to the grocery store with their kids in tow, and they're seamlessly crossing the path because the entity is maintaining the specific environment around the targeted individual at all times. And you're living here, engaging in ongoing facilitation. But you want to appear as though you're not focused on getting your Starbucks and coming back from the grocery store. You are not coincidentally crossing path while the entity is stalking in a helicopter. You're understanding what's a psychopath, and they're going to serve time in federal prison for that unlawful aid to the federal government that is engaging in 24-hour surveillance and terrorism and sexual violence and harassment as an entity. It is currently 8:13 a.m. and I'm going to upload the video documentation of what was captured at 7:44. Again, this is one video. I went through a lengthy discussion because I want you to understand the significance. The light source is not going anywhere. The light source is always rising and setting in alignment to my apartment, while the entity, whether it's in a commercial vehicle, you're understanding what is no respecter of persons, while what is the exact same specific environment, what is in every regard criminal presence, criminal facilitation, and it is also that which is occurring while the people of the state are not ignorant. You do not have a body of evidence of what are the people of the state that are engaging in what is crossing path and engineered light, as though it's going to ricochet off of your car and on all over the surfaces and all over the sidewalk and all over. That is a body of evidence that exists that the people of the state will never be able to address in federal court, nor the state. And I want to be clear. The state actors as well. You're talking about demons that are driving police vehicles, the same phenomenon. This is how you are tying together what is the system. That is called maintaining the specific environment, by the way. Demons stalk in your path with engineered light. So they're doing it in the private space while also molesting the person. No stalker has any consent to touch. You're going to be prosecuted for not only being constructively present where I live, where I work, and everywhere that I go without a warrant and probable cause. You're also going to be prosecuted as a sex offender because the entity is touching all over your person while they insist on pursuing you and following you and touching all over you because they want to keep you under surveillance. That's how obsessed they are. That's a very highly disturbing and sexually violent pattern of conduct. You have a whole population of demons that are following you around from place to place, keeping you under surveillance and molesting you with engineered light, keeping your path surrounded with engineered light. All right. And they're doing it without a warrant or probable cause. It is currently 8:14 a.m. and this is the maintenance of the light source. I'm at 1806 North Alvarado Street. What is facing the hillside, and I want to be clear, the opposite side of the same hillside is outside of my bedroom, where the entity is keeping that light source 11 hours later as though the sun is setting, and as though anybody is ignorant about what's going on. At this point, you're talking about what is just adding on time to federal prison. The entity is posing an impermissible threat. The entity is doing so while aiming this engineer light not just on the ground, it's on the ceilings, on all of the walls, creating multiple shadows, and this is going toward the prosecution of that entity that's engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, which is criminal surveillance. And all of buildings 1800 through buildings 1818 are going to federal prison for engaging in the system of criminal surveillance, for engaging in the perpetual sex offense, for engaging in what is unlawful assistance, which any state, the people of any state shall not engage in without suffering. And that is loss of your liberty. You will sit in federal prison for a prolonged term based on the facts and circumstances. But those that are living around the target individual, and let me be clear, the target individual could be homeless, and they are living around the targeted individual whom the government is placing under surveillance, they're going to federal prison. Because you're going to understand how those facts work together, where the entity is surrounding you, as I've already documented that. There are people that are going to federal prison, and this is going to be how you are prosecuting the people of the state, aiding the government that's engaging in terrorism in the U.S. in the matters that I spoke of. It is again 8:16 a.m., and this is P.O.C.